One of the most widely recognized neighborhoods in Washington, D.C. is this one, Georgetown. With its brick sidewalks, its old federal-style houses with enormous price tags, the extravagance, the shopping, the dining, the whining, the playground and the living place of Washington's political power elite. But today I want to talk about something different, something usually not recognized about this city, its heart. Traveling west into Georgetown from DuPont Circle, on Q Street, one passes these beautiful bison and the Dumbarton Bridge to one of my favorite quiet places of contemplation, Mount Zion Cemetery. The cemetery is the resting place for people that had been long forgotten. In fact, for decades, this was a place that had been overgrown and overtaken by the surrounding forest. Today, it's a little bit jarring to see what it's turned into. These tombstones are basically nothing but remnants and rubble. Through a long period of history, members of this congregation were some of Washington's most affluent. So it's surprising to me to have learned that they took tremendous risks to their lives and their livelihoods to come to the back of this burial place with provisions. They would bring food, clothing, shoes, supplies to this place. A storage facility at the back end of the graveyard. This is where they stored cadavers awaiting burial. But more importantly, this is where the congregants stored provisions for those escaping slavery in the South. This is Rock Creek Park, and it was a thoroughfare on the Underground Railroad. All the bricks, the steel door still exists. I have to be honest, it really concerns me to refer to somebody as a slave because they were people and they endured enormous cruelty and they served under incredibly horrific conditions. Essentially, these were people who were kidnapped from their homes and transported in shackles, imprisoned, and turned into slave labor. And the economy of the territories thrived at their expense. And yet there were people who lived in this city who opposed all of that in a time when it was the norm. And there were very stiff federal laws prohibiting the aiding of escaped slaves to the tune of $1,000 fine per slave helped and prison time. That is, if mob rule didn't completely trounce the person to death. We're here in beautiful Rock Creek Park. You can see the creek behind me, which starts way up in Maryland, winds right through the middle of DC and ends at the Potomac in Georgetown. Now the city has grown up around this. You can hear the traffic, the neighborhoods are bustling. But back in the 1700s and the 1800s, this would have been forested. This would have been little more than a stream running right through the woods. And it created a perfect passageway for slaves escaping the South through the Carolinas and Virginia, across the Potomac. They would stop here in Georgetown for provisions, and then make their way another 70 miles north to the Mason-Dixon line and the promise of freedom.